What's going on, guys? It's Tetrosphere. I just got done working a 12-hour shift, so I'm very tired, but I did want to get this video out because I do think it's important to discuss, and I wanted to do it in a timely fashion. And I'm going to be pretty busy all week, so just putting the time in now. We do have, over the weekend, the results came in for the Genesys Invitational that was held in Pittsburgh. We do have the top 8 breakdown, as well as, a few days ago, the recap was posted by Konami. Now, I have already read the recap, and I do already know these decks. I have not seen anyone else's response, so I'm just going to go ahead and give my thoughts on their recap and the top 8 breakdown of the tournament. And, hopefully I have a perspective to offer that has not already been completely regurgitated by everybody else. But if I am just saying the same thing everyone else is saying, then so be it. Let's look at the top 8 for ourselves first. Then we will look at Konami's recap, and I'll share my thoughts about what they think about this top 8 breakdown. So we do have Anamat, Dracotail, Punk, Archmage, Radiant Typhoon, and Vanquish Soul all represented in top 8. Interestingly, in my last video, I did mention Punk, Archmage, and Radiant Typhoon as decks that I felt were overtuned for the format. I did also mention Odeon, which is not represented here. My interpretation, though, is not that it's because the deck is not very good. I think it just was not a lot of people's choice to play that deck. I don't know if there's a breakdown of what all decks earned the invite and what all decks were brought to the Invitational. It was only about 32 duelists who earned the invitation for the event, so I don't know if that breakdown exists somewhere. If there was like 9 freaking Odeons and none of them topped, then that would obviously change my mind. But I'm thinking not a lot of people brought Odeon to the event because they were expecting Radiant Typhoon to be very popular, and Radiant Typhoon in most circumstances has a pretty easy time into Odeon. Obviously, if you don't draw an out to Mammoth Mark, it can be pretty tough, but outside of that, usually you don't have too much of an issue playing into their interactions, and you have a lot of pushes. So obviously, if you're expecting a bunch of Radiant Typhoon, even though your deck, if you're an Odeon main, is very strong, you probably won't bring it if you're afraid it's going to have a bad matchup into a very popular deck. I did not mention Anamat, Dracotail, or Vanquish Soul in terms of decks I thought were overtuned. I did mention Vanquish Soul as a deck that I felt was still very strong despite the points it got, and obviously that holds true. It's still topping the Invitationals. I mentioned briefly the Dracotail Lunalate deck, which this list is not on that technology, so I am kind of hopeful that that deck's just flat out not a real issue in the format. Dracotail in and of itself, I think, is very appropriately pointed. I'm not surprised it made it to top 8, but I also don't think it's going to be some kind of like scourge on the format. Anamat, I do believe, would have been an honorable mention for the 5th deck that I think is overtuned. However, I do think it has quite a bit of points. God, which one is it? Is it the level 6 that Foolish is and makes itself a level 4? Its name is escaping me. That one is 7 points, and Onomatopoeia is 33 points. Plus, I think some of their better Xyz monsters in Archetype are like 20 points. So it's pretty appropriately pointed. I don't think it made it to top 8 and then won the whole thing because it's not pointed well enough. I think it's a very strong deck that was obviously played by someone who knows how to play it and did really well. Maybe you could make an argument here based on this that it might deserve a few more points, but I think it's probably okay because Droll and Nib are so cheap. I don't generally like balancing cards on your opponent drawing the out, but it also doesn't really put up a super unbreakable board, so even if you don't see the Nib or Droll, that means you drew a bunch of Engine or you drew a bunch of Breakers, so you probably can deal with what they're doing either way. Maybe some more points there, but probably nothing too bad. And then again, Punk and Archmage, I had mentioned, I think they need some points, and Radiant Typhoon, I think, need some points. Those decks are here. We did have 2 Punks and 2 Radiant Typhoons, one on a big Runic package, I think one on no Runics at all. If I'm not... Yes, this one is not on Runic at all, which we will take a look at these lists. So yeah, the caveat, like I will say, to me thinking Onomot probably doesn't need more points is that Droll and Nib stay cheap, which that is something we're going to bring up later in the video. Regardless, let's look at these lists. So the one that won it all, we do have Onomot, played by Dwayne Howell Jr. And let's see, so it's Dodo Warrior. That's the 3 of that you play for 7 points. 3 Goblinberg, 3 Ganbara Knight, 1 Zubababa Knight, 1 Utopic Onomatopoeia, 2 Onomatokage. I feel like normally you play 3, so that's interesting. 2 Coat, 1 Glove, the Twin Saber, the Ascended Sage, the Astraltopia. I think this I feel like is pretty standard. I think sometimes you see 1 Coat, but cutting the Tokage, I guess I'm not surprised you played an extra Coat. And then Ascension and Tachyon, so just maximizing on consistency there. The 1 Pyra, because of how many points it is pretty standard. Automato Pickup, it's a continuous. When this card is activated, you can add an Automat card from your deck to hand, except itself. So obviously this is just free extra copies of Pyra that loses to removal, which going first doesn't really matter. And then for non-engine, we just have Droll, Ultimate Slayer, Dark Ruler. Oh, they are playing the Counter Trap, of course. And 1 Gravediggers, which I do, obviously, as a Trap Chicks fan, I'm very excited that they're playing the 1 Rafflesia. I love that technology. And then the extra deck, let's see, we have Leo Utopia Ray, Utopic Future Zexal, Utopic Draco Future, Utopic Future, OG Utopia, Utopia Double, Battle and Boxer Star Cestus. This is the reveal for 7th Tachyon. It adds a fighter or warrior level 4. Utopic Sage, Gaga Gaga Girl, Gaga Gaga Magician, Exciton Knight, Alem Bershin, and like I said, Rafflesia. And then we have Malong as an Ultimate Slayer target, and Fossil Warrior Skull Knight. Is that a better Ultimate Slayer target for this deck? You can banish this card from your graveyard, target 1 monster on the field, destroy it. Okay, so Elder Entity Entis is 7 points, and it's a trigger to pop any card. This is an ignition effect to target a monster on the field and destroy it for free in terms of points, so I can see playing this instead of Garura if you don't think you need the draws. Side deck, they got the 2 Vados and the Lightning Strike Kaiju. We do have Tornado Dragon and Neo Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon and Aggregator on the side. Aggregator's probably just a target for Ultimate Slayer. These are probably just for matchups where you feel like they're good. I'm wondering why we play specifically this Kaiju. Honestly, I couldn't tell you. I don't know enough about this deck to know why you would care about that Kaiju. In the side, we have Gagaga Utopic Tactics. It's a protection effect. And then a level modulation. Okay, that doesn't seem that good, but again, probably has some use case. 3 Fissure, 2 Cyclone, and 2 more of the Counter Trap, probably for going first. Yeah, I don't really think anything here is like super surprising or groundbreaking. I don't think, I think it's just a strong deck. They're leaning really heavily on their engine and ability to extend and push into boards. And, you know, like looks like they're only playing truly 9 non-engine here because, I mean, Gravedigger's Trap Hole is a engine requirement for Rafflesia to be a disruption, so I wouldn't consider that non-engine. Yeah, so this is the deck that won it all. I do think I usually see 3 Onomatokage. Maybe I'm tripping. Let me know down below if I'm yapping about that. I do wonder if you guys feel like 2 was not the call here. 42 cards, interestingly, as well. Yeah, let's go ahead and look at the next decks. We do have Draco Tail, which came in second, played by Edwin Storm IV. On 100 points, we have 3 Lucius, 1 Phimena, 2 Frixel. Probably just to have more names, because only the 1 Phimena. 3 Malulu, 3 Urgula, 3 Pan. Once again, the Lightning Strike Kaiju. This might not have anything to do with the deck you're playing. It must have something to do with it being good into a certain deck for one reason or actually in this deck I think it's probably fusion material for something. That would also make sense because, well, no, because you're not playing any of the branded stuff. Whatever. I'm not gonna 3 Kaijus is the point. 2 Shall Beast, 3 King of the Swamp, 2 Poly, 3 Ketu, 3 Rahu, and 1 of each trap. And then for non-engine, just the 3 Droll, 3 DD Crow. I would think Nib would be better with this deck. I feel like this deck has really strong synergy with Nibiru, but Adrol got him there, so who am I to talk? In the extra deck, we have 1 Arthalion, 3 Gulamel, 2 Secretarian, a Mysterion, Chaos, Star Source, Blue Eyes Tyrant, Millennium Eyes Restrict, Shaddoll Construct. I wonder... Oh, this is probably good going... Why this one? Shaddoll monster and a light monster, so you can use Frixel. But surely one of the Shaddolls that sends Zergula or Pan would be better. Let me know down below if you guys know why Construct specifically. And then Philia Regis, Malong, Aggregator, and Valon. Obviously just Ultimate Slayer sends, which they're playing the Ultimate Slayer. 3 Vados and a Shaddoll Dragon. 3 Shaddoll Fusion, 3 Cyclone, Slayer, and Mistaken Rest. Mistaken Rest definitely very strong in this deck. That card could get some points, for sure. Yeah, this is based. I love Draco Tail in Advanced, and I think it's great that it's playable in Genesys, but obviously, points-wise, you're really only going to be able to play 1 Phimena and 1 Arthalion, so I think it's hampered in terms of power level pretty good, especially with Ketu being 10, Malulu being 5. I mean, yeah, you'd have to cut 3 Droll, and then you still can't even play another Phimena or Arthalion. So truly, this is like max engine, and then you just have 15 points to spend on non-engine. Yeah, so nothing really too crazy here, I don't think. Again, let me know down below about this Kaiju, why we're seeing this. Let's see if we see more of it. And then we have 2 Punk decks. Anthony Nicholas Axatura? I don't know how to say your last name, dude, I'm sorry. And Nicholas Anderson. Let's see here. I'm just going to go over the non-engine, because probably the engine... Or I'm going to go over the engine once of this deck, and then the non-engine of the others, because that's probably all it's going to change. We have the 3 Xiamen, 3 Rising Scale, 3 Foxy Tune, sorry, 1 Madam Spider, 3 Ogre Dance, 1 Wagon, and 2 Deer Note, 1 Sharakusai, 1 Hushed Psychic Minister, and tons of non-engine: Small World, Extreme Session, Teleport Fusion, and Dangerous Gabu. And then for non-engine, we have the 2 Ogre, 3 Ash, 3 Mourner, 3 Droll, 3 Nib, 3 DD Crow. So this is what I was getting at in my video. Like, this engine is way too powerful to be able to also play all this non-engine and all this like high quality non-engine. Like, this is 1, 2, 4, 7, 10, 13 cards of pointed non-engine. Like, that is like, this deck is overtuned. In the extra deck, we have Jam Dragon Drive, 2 Amazing Dragon, 1 Berserker the Tenyi, 1 Psychic Blaster MK2, 1 Serene Psychic Sorceress, 1 Jiraishin, 2 Jam Fevers, Hang of the Fire Kings. I haven't seen that come up against me when I'm playing against Punk. That's interesting. But I like that technology. 1 Break Sword, 1 Dingirsu. I love Dingirsu as a generic rank 8, by the way. Just like in general. I love that whenever there's like a good rank 8 deck, this is like a consideration. Rising Carp, Axon Kicker, and Kicker Oracle. Then in the side deck, we have 3 Gravity Claps, Insane Counter Trap, 2 Xyz Encore, 2 Twin Twisters, 2 Cosmic, 3 Dark Ruler for board breakers, and also with 3 Godarla. Again, not playing Gamma Seal. I mean, a Kaiju is a Kaiju in basically any given situation, like, but surely in almost every circumstance, Gamma Seal is the strictly optimum choice. There's obviously, I know the machine is sometimes better, and I think Branded likes the bigger one with Draco Tail, because you can make God, what's it, the one that needs like a level 8 or higher. You know what I'm talking about. But this one's also playing Godarla. But again, there might be something to do with like if your opponent controls a monster with this much attack or whatever. Like, I don't know the nitty gritty of it, but yeah. And let's see what's going on over here in terms of non-engine. Oh, this one's playing more of the generic psychic stuff. Okay, so for non-ninja, oh, they're also playing. Oh, this is like actually a way different list than I thought. Yeah, in terms of names, they're basically doing the same, but then they're also on 2 Mind Procedure, 3 Psychic Blaster, 2 Serene Psychic Girls, and then for non-engine, they're on 3 Fua, 3 Droll, 1 Ghost Ogre, and 2 Book of Eclipse. Ghost Ogre is super strong in this deck because its effect also works from field. And obviously, you just in general have synergy with Psychics. I think it's less pronounced, the synergy, when you don't play E-Telly, but here we are. Oh, I just noticed this one is not playing Psychic and Punisher, so that's something that they sacrificed to be able to play more hand traps. This one sacrificed some hand traps, only playing 7 pointed hand traps for the ability to include a Psychic and Punisher in the extra deck. Otherwise, very similar. I think Crossmind Archfiend was not in the other list. And so this list in the side is playing the Gamma Seals, 3 Cosmics, 3 Dark Ruler, 3 Ultimate Slayer, 2 Gravity Claps, and 2 Solemn Judgment. So going a little bit heavier in the counter trap investment here. But otherwise, these lists are fairly similar. Just a couple, like a minor philosophical difference if we're to spend points, valuing the ceiling that Psychic and Punisher provides versus valuing the flexibility that the hand traps provide in terms of backing up your board when going first or having an easier time playing into a half board when going second. But yeah, in either situation though, this deck should not be able to play Fua, Droll, Judgments, Eclipse. Like this deck should be spending most of its points on its engine, is my opinion. Let's see here. We have 1 Archmage, right? Yes. And this is what's his face, right? Isn't this Distant Coder? We have 2 Graph Layer, 3 Medius, 2 Litera, 2 Power Patron, 1 Cartesia, 2 Ghost Ogre, 2 Ghost Mourner, 3 Droll, 3 Nib, 3 Crow, 3 Field Spell, 1 Succession, 3 Alteration, 3 Assault, 3 Fusion Deployment, 3 Crossout Designator. Okay. And 1 Awakening. I wonder if this came up because I would think that in Genesys format... Well, you know what? Let me rewind. Nibiru and Droll are like strictly the best hand traps for the points in the format. You yourself are playing them and you're expecting to see them a lot. Plus, they do really well against your deck. So, okay, actually, I think that is very, very valid here with the 3 Crossout Designator. For the extra deck, you got 2 Diactorus, 1 Nerva, 1 Magnum Reliever, a Despian Proskenian, a Gringuinal, Secretarian, Mysterian, Magistus Trozo, Garura, and Mud Dragon. Why are we playing Mud Dragon? We don't play Super Poly. Do we just actually make this sometimes? That's interesting. A Raider's Knight, which I don't think I even have ever seen this card. Detach a material from the card, special summon from the extra deck 1 Phantom Knights, Raider Raptor, or Xyz Dragon, Xyz Monster that is rank 1 higher or lower than this card. So you could do a 3 or a 5. Using this face-up card, you control as material, but destroy it during your opponent's next end phase. So they're making Arc Rebellion, Xyz Dragon with it. Okay, 1 Emerald, and then Despian Luluwellith. In the side, we have 3 Draco Tail Flame. I love this technology. 3 Lance, 3 Twin Twisters, 3 Cosmic, 3 Gamma Seal. Yeah, I'm interested in the Mud Dragon thing. I don't know when that comes up. But, hey, whatever. I guess you could maybe make it with... No, you cannot make it with Cartesia. She's level 8 or higher. Whatever. Yeah, another deck that should not be able to play 10 hand traps with points, 3 crossout designators, and have points left over for stuff like Cartesia, Forbidden Lance, Grand Guignol. Yeah, Media should be like 33 points. Field Spell should be 33 points, something like that. This is ludicrous. We looked at Punk, we looked at Draco Tail, Automat, Archmage. Okay, so Vanquish, or Radiant Typhoon, we have the Runic build, which is on 3 Eldum, 3 Swen, a Magala, 3 Crocy, 2 Phonics, and a Vera Rune. 3 Chant, 3 Vision, 1 Runic Destruction, 3 Slumber, 3 Flashing Fire, 3 Tip, 3 Freezing Curses, 3 Fountain, 2 Pot of Greed, 2 MST, and 1 Mandate. So they are very, very heavy on the, what am I trying to say? The Runic side. Playing a lot more Runic than I typically see in Radiant Typhoon. In the extra deck, we have Desiree, Cyframe Lorenzetta, Warlord Savage Dragon, 2 Dante, a Leviair, Cicada King, Super Quantal, Gram Pulse. What does this do for this deck? Just spell trap removal. 2 Totem Birds, a Break Sword, and a Shuriking, Big Gabanga, Crazy Beast, and Perrin. I am super curious about this extra deck because I do feel like some of these are just here for memes or just to have 15 cards. But regardless, in the side we have 3 Droll, 2 Fua, 2 Gamma Seal, 3 Mirage of Nightmare. I gotta imagine these come in for going first. 3 D-Fissure and 2 Cyclone. The D-Fissure I feel like is very gamble because you can maybe get away with more of like a stall game plan because you're leaning more into the runic side, but like when your Phonics and Veraroon get banished, you're not getting them back. Yeah, Leviair can't even get them back, so I don't know about Di-Fi, but hey, if it worked out for you, it worked out for you. But yeah, this deck also needs some... Wait. Oh, okay, the 2 Pot of Greed, that's where your points, but I was like, this does not look like 100 points. But yeah, the fact that this deck can, like, just play that, and, like, all this, and Fua, and Droll, like, I think you should put 15 points on Crowseer Vision. If you ask me. Let's see the other list. The other Radiant Typhoon, which was not on Runics, played by Jared Centimore. We have 1 Mourner, 3 Crowsea, 3 Swen, 3 Megala, 2 Vararoon, 3 Eldum, 2 Phonics, and 2 Noble Knights Shieldbearer. This can search Eldum, I believe. It's, yeah, the Beast. It can search Eldum. 2 Droplet, 3 Vision, 3 Manifestation, 3 Chant, 3 MST, 3 Mirage of Nightmare, Mandate, 3 Purge. Yeah, I like this a lot as well. The 1 Mourner... I mean, I get that it's a level 3 wind, but I don't know that if you're going to play exactly 1 hand trap that Mourner is the play, right? Like, I don't think it particularly has synergy with anything else in this deck. It's not like Noble Knight Shieldbearer can search it if you already have Eldum. So I'm curious why the 1 Mourner. Maybe it was just a throw-in. You had 3 points, figured why not. I get that. Moving on to the extra deck, we have Utopic Future Zexal, which that is a very interesting tech for this deck. I had not considered that. Fortune Tune, 2 Cicada King, 2 Totem Bird, 2 Break Sword, Ashura King, Valen, Dragon Gate, Jormungandr, Leviathan, Marilogic, and Garura. So we see some US targets here. Dragon Gate, I think, is cool in this deck as well. Obviously, in the Runic build, you don't really get a battle phase, but something I had considered was like Zeus in this deck, but I'm on the Runics, so I'm not counting on having battle phase. So by not playing with the Runics, you are giving yourself a lot more options in terms of the kinds of effects you can take advantage of. 3 Droll, 3 Kaiju, again going with Kumongus instead of Gamma Seal, 3 Vados, 3 Nib, and 3 Dracotail Flame. I pointed out that I really like Dracotail Flame a lot in... and just in general for this format, but in this deck in particular, I just feel like Blizzard has such much better synergy because it happens to be a quick play spell. I get that Flame has the upside of potentially drawing a card, and in particular, it potentially has the upside of putting a trap in the grave to give you more synergy for Dominus Purge. So I get it, but like... that's some pretty loose synergy compared to the general synergy that Blizzard has just by being a quick play spell. So I feel like Dracotail Flame is maybe a little bit more of like a high risk, high reward, whereas Blizzard is just like consistently pretty good. Also, Blizzard can't be negated by something like Ash. Now, with that being said, in this format, I don't expect Flame to often be negated by Ash, Bell, Purge, but it's out there, something that could happen. But otherwise, yeah, pretty standard issue. And now we just have Vanquishal to look at, played by Samuel Sloan. Alright, so we have 3 Raz and 3 Madlove. Excuse me, throat was getting a little dry. 2 Pantera, 2 Holly Sue, 3 Caesar Valius, 3 Heavy Borger, 1 Regenesis Overlord, 3 Regenesis Archfiend, 3 Regenesis Warrior, 1 Regenesis Sage, 2 Crow, 1 Vados, 1 Dolgaron, 2 Radian, 2 7th Tachyon, 3 Regenesis Code, 3 Stake Your Soul, a Start, and a Snow Devil. So choosing to spend our points on the 2 Holly Sue and just cutting Zhao Long completely, and replacing the Fire representation with Regenesis Warrior, which I think the Regenesis package in this deck is very intelligent. Obviously, Heavy Borger gets you your number on the field if you need it. And does Radiant as well? Yes, because Radiant has 2,500 defense and happens to be a dark, so very strong. The 1 Vados, I mean, why not? I guess it's a dark. It doesn't cost any points, so why not? Extra deck, we have 2 rocks, Baromet, the Sacred Sheep Shrub. Oh, that's good for recycling Snow Devil. 1 Emerald, 1 Exciton Knight, 1 Tornado Dragon, 1 Battling Boxer King Dempsey. That's your reveal to search Rosin off of 7 Tachyon. Malevolent Sin, I played this card in Trap Tricks. It's really cool to see that come up. It's essentially just like a rank 4 worse SP Little Knight. Masquerade, number 104. Are we revealing that for... Is it a fiend? No, that's a fairy, right? Or it's spellcaster. So that's not a Tachyon reveal. Or I mean, it is, but not. We don't have a search target for it off Tachyon. Are we making this? Huh. Battling Boxer, Star Cestus. Oh no, King Dempsey's not the reveal. It's not a number. Star Cestus is the reveal. We just actually play King Dempsey. My mistake. Giant Hand, Giant Red Hand, Drill Driver Vespanado, Valen and Garura. Are we actually... Okay, so this can rank up using any rank 4. Cannot be used as Exceeds material the turn it's summoned. Piercing damage. Can special summon a level 5 or lower engrave when it's destroyed by an opponent's card. Are we actually making... Excuse me. Well, Giant Red Hand can be revealed to search Holly Sue, so that makes sense. And so can this. But I get the feeling we're actually making Vespanado, not just revealing it. In the side deck, we have 3 Skullmeister, 2 Vados, a Perfume Dancer with the 3 Ultimate Slayer. So this is a send, I think, to counter Liger Dancer. Yeah, because it's a Lunalite effect, so Liger Dancer is not unaffected by it. You can banish this card from your graveyard. This turn, all monsters your opponent controls lose attack equal to the original defense. So I think it makes Liger Dancer have like 300 or 800 attack or something like that. 3 Gordian Slicer, which I love this card in this format. Amazing board breaker for 0 points. And 3 Hey Trunade, going with that over something like Cosmic or Twin Twister, which I get why you wouldn't play Twin Twister in this deck because you are valuing the hand size in this deck a lot. You don't want to discard. But the Hey Trunade, I feel like you probably still prefer Cosmic. But, I mean, it worked out for this guy, so... yeah, I think this deck is like a very appropriate power level for the format. I think the inclusion of Regenesis is extremely based. Yeah, this is sick. This is so sick. There's nothing here that I don't absolutely love. I think they hit Vanquish Soul perfectly. I think this is like the poster child of like the power level that Genesys should be at in terms of the format. So that is all 8 decks. My thoughts. Again, Punk, Archmage, Radiant Typhoon need some points. I know Odeon was not here. I think that was a meta call for the event. I don't think it's because Odeon is not powerful in the format. It also needs points. Vanquish Soul is perfectly pointed. I think... I don't think it's surprising that one person got a top with it. And then the Automat... You maybe could make the argument that it might need some more points. If Joel and Lockbird and or Nib go up in points, I think Automat definitely needs to go up in points. But with Joel and Nib being so cheap, probably fine. Let's read the Konami blog coverage for this event. YCS Pittsburgh Genesys recap. Genesys was jumping at YCS Pittsburgh. The 32 16-player qualifiers were over by 4 p.m. on Saturday, with another 35 on-demand events firing as well, almost double what we had in Anaheim. Among the duelists trying to qualify, 90 different strategies were presented, and 64 qualifying duelists finished their pods 3-0 or better with 34 different decks. Today we'll be discussing some of the takeaways from the weekend events. We mentioned in a previous post that we expected Vanquish Soul to still be a powerful deck even after the October points adjustment. In Pittsburgh, 4 players made it to the Invitational using Vanquish Soul, and 1 made it all the way to the quarterfinals. The primary casualty of the points adjustment last month was Jiaolong. Among all the VS decks from the qualifiers, players prioritized having a second copy of Halisu, and to get these points, they were willing to give up Jiaolong completely. Genesys Regenesis. To replace the Fire, Earth, Dark monsters they had to remove due to points being added to the core Vanquish Soul cards, players turned to the Regenesis theme that has all 3 and an emergency teleport type card to help pull them from the deck. Regenesis Code summons Regenesis Archfiend or Warrior from the deck, and then when they go to the graveyard during your opponent's turn, you return them to the hand at end phase, and now you have the attributes you need. This isn't the only place Regenesis monsters and Regenesis Code have appeared in a supporting capacity, but we would be remiss if we didn't shout out the Regenesis deck itself, which has been steadily improving since Genesis began. While it didn't make it to the Invitational Anaheim, multiple Regenesis decks made it through in Pittsburgh. Okay, so pure Regenesis did earn an invite in Pittsburgh. We can create Dino Rabbit in the aggregate. Pittsburgh saw a rise in general use summon strategies, or summon engines. After the price of Speedroid Terratop and Dodo Warrior went up last month, Terratop and Take Tomborg were phased out in favor of Eldum, Swen, and Chant. A much larger deck commitment, but the cards are interchangeable. As for Dodo Warrior, it seems the increase in price just reminded everyone how powerful the card is, and its usage went up. In fact, the increase is likely explained by players looking into the bridge between 2 level 3s and a Dodo Warrior via Goblin Biker Big Gabanga. The Big Gabanga gets you to Goblinburg, which is a goblin, and provided that you have your normal summon available, that gets you to everything else. What are players doing with these cards? Mostly Xyz summoning 1 Xyz monster that negates a spell trap, and 1 that negates a monster effect, backed up by removal. So that's referring to Totem Bird, Cicada King, Giant Hand, Rafflesia, things like that. Sometimes they also banish a bunch of your stuff, either with Di-Fi and or runic spells. And if you close your eyes, you might have a flashback to Evil Zorlagia and Evil Zordoka, backed up by Macrocosmos and some traps. Okay, so they're kind of... That's why the comparison to Dino Rabbit. Okay. Classic cards reemerge. This time around, we saw a lot of classic cards and combinations appearing and succeeding. Fan favorite Dante, Traveler of the Burning Abyss, is back in action and made it all the way to the quarterfinals, and his running mate, the Phantom Knight of Breaksword, did as well. Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon made the field, and we even saw a reemergence of Wind Witch cards to help summon it. One old favorite deck that didn't make the field of the 64 brought back the original Yang Zing cards from Duelist Alliance and the new Challengers. Yang Zing is one of the strategies we're planning to add in the next Rivalry of Warworlds update, and in fact was the only strategy we're planning to add that no one had brought previously. Who's in and who's out? The number of unique strategies that made it to the Invitational increased from 24 in Anaheim to 34 in Pittsburgh. It wasn't all additions, though. Some strategies that did make it in Anaheim did not make it in Pittsburgh, and some were a bit surprising, so out. So these were decks that earned an invite in Anaheim, but did not earn an invite in Pittsburgh, and that was Blue Eyes, Exo Sister, Fire King, Springen's Punk, Jirak, Dinosaurs, Pearly, and Ashend. I guess I could still see any of these earning an invite. I just, well, I don't know how the hell Ashend did. I don't know what Ashend does. I'm gonna keep it a buck. I don't know what this deck does. My only understanding of this deck is that it's hot garbage. But whatever. I think all these other decks, I'll give Ashend the benefit of the doubt and just assume it's viable because it earned an invite in Anaheim, and I don't think it got points. I think these decks just didn't earn an invite, maybe because people chose not to play it, or it just wasn't their day, or whatever. I think any of these decks could still earn an invite. And then these decks earned an invite, but did not earn it in Anaheim. In Pittsburgh, they were successful. Naturia, Psychics, which I'm guessing is like Punk, Super Quant, and Virtual World. Gem Knight, Dragon Maid, Invoked, Draco Tail, Super Quant, Chimera Azamina, this deck is insane. Canine Archmage, the fact that that's possible in Genesys is disgusting. Mitsurugi, I need to see that list. Drytron, Ice Barrier, Monarchs, Rose Dragon, Megalith, Regenesis, Canine, Anomat, and ZW Utopia. I don't know the distinction of Anomat and ZW Utopia, if I'm being honest. But they're making a distinction here. The newcomers are a nice mix of fusion, synchro exceeds, and ritual strategies, a couple of hybrids plus monarchs. No one summoning mechanic seems to rule them all. What advanced format forbidden cards were popular? Pot of Greed continues to be the most played card off that list. Graceful Charity fell off almost completely since last time, but dropping Mirage of Nightmare to 0 got some players to use it mostly as a side deck card. VFD was nearly absent this time, but slashing the price of Metamorphosis got it into the Invitational. I actually agree with that. I think Metamorphosis is at a really appropriate point card now, because like it's at the point where I'm considering playing it, but I'm not like, oh, it's definitely going in. Which, you know, I know that this is something Josh Schmidt has said a few times. That is when you know that a card is like pointed correctly, where you consider it, but it's not an auto include or an auto disinclude. It's a consideration. Any extreme outliers? Last month, Vanquish Soul was an extreme performance outlier. This time around, there were no extreme performance outliers. In Pittsburgh's Invitational, there was a big group of decks that appeared 1 to 3 times, and then a small group in the 4 to 6 range. In Anaheim, we had those 2 groups, and then Vanquish Soul at 12 representatives. There will always be some decks that perform better than others in any given tournament, and there can only be one winner, but Pittsburgh's distribution with no huge outliers is more ideal. The current landscape of Genesys is looking pretty good from our perspective, and there are 2 more YCS events happening this month with 2 more invitationals in tow. Notably, YCS Bologna will be our first chance to see how the European duelists are approaching Genesys. You could probably guess this based on the tournament schedule and release calendar, but we figure we should say outright that there won't be a point adjustment this month. The next one is planned for December after we've had a chance to digest new data. So they're pretty happy with what the format looks like right now. They don't see a need to do a point adjustment for November. They're going to give it another month, so it'd be about 8 to 10 weeks between adjustments at this point. For December, after they're able to get even more data from 2 more YCSs, which I think is completely fair. When you're looking at a format that is as diverse as this was, there's probably no real need to put a freaking, sledgehammer to the machine here and really shake things up. Might as well get some more data, see if anything changes, see if anyone discovers anything crazy before you make an adjustment. I get that. I agree with it. What I don't agree with fully is this sentence here. There will always be some decks that perform better than others in any given tournament, and there can only be one winner. But Pittsburgh's distribution with no huge outliers is more ideal. And I agree with these words. I don't agree with these words in the context of the Pittsburgh Invitational. And the reason I say that is 2 things can be true at the same time. It can be true that, obviously 6 different decks were viable and able to make top 8 of this format. And it be true that that's because these 6 decks are huge performance outliers. Just because you went from having 1 performance outlier to having 6 doesn't mean automatically that those 6 decks are healthy just because there's 6 of them. Now, it could be the case that they're healthy. Like, for example, I think Vanquish Soul is in a very healthy spot. But I think whether or not a format is good is more nuanced than just how many decks are viable. Because let's look at it like this. If it was 8 Vanquish Souls, it would be very obvious that Vanquish Soul is a problem because people are playing Vanquish Soul because of its power level, not because they like the deck. And therefore, it's clear that Vanquish Soul is much more powerful than the rest of the format. Okay. Now we look at a format like this, where you have Anomat, Draco Tail, Punk, Archmage, Radiant Typhoon, and Vanquish Soul. It is very possible that all 6 of these decks have the same characteristic that Vanquish Soul had last format, where these 6 decks are strictly better than every other deck available. To be clear, I'm not saying that that's true. I'm saying it's possible. So if for the sake of discussion, let's just say these are the 6 best decks of the format. I was wrong about Odeon, and these decks are just clearly way better than the rest. Like, the 7th best deck is significantly worse than the 6th. If that's the case, then that's still not necessarily a great format if your goal is diversity. Now, it's not strictly necessary that your goal is diversity. I don't have a problem with there being 6 best decks and then like a sea of 30 to 40 decks that are like tier 2. I think that's fine. But I feel like Konami has made it clear that their goal with this format is that basically any deck could be viable, because if your engine is free, you get to play the best non-engine, and your weak engine deck is going to be playing against strong engine decks that play weak non-engine. And that concept, I think, is very, noble, and it's a great way to drive an alternative format. But you can only achieve that if you look at the subtleties of the top 8 and not just the diversity. Because if you have a diverse top 8, but it's because all 6 decks are toxic, not because all 6 decks are fun, and those just happened to be the 6 decks people chose, then that's still not a good format, because you still have toxic gameplay in top 8. All that changed was the names and pictures of the cards. And I'm not saying that that's where Genesys is. I'm just saying that your evidence that Genesys is not there can't be that you had 6 different decks in top 8. It has to be that the players are happy with the decks that made top 8, the players enjoyed the gameplay that got there, and that the cards are appropriate for the power level that you want the format to be at. And that last point, really all the points, are obviously subjective. I personally think that, of these 6 decks, I think at least 3 of them are definitely overtuned and underpointed. One of them is arguably overtuned and underpointed, being Animat. And Draco Tail and Vanquish Soul are the only decks that I feel like are definitely appropriately pointed for the format. So my personal opinion from playing the format, playing against these decks, playing some of these decks, looking at how they did, looking at the deck lists, and interpreting Konami's interpretation of the results, is that we're not where Genesys needs to be just yet. But I can appreciate waiting an extra month to make some moves, because while I don't see us being where we want to be, I also don't see any massive red flags to where if nothing happens, this format's going to die within the next month. So I think it's fine that they're waiting a month. I just hope that they're willing to, over the course of these next 2 events, examine some of those subtleties and draw some conclusions, both from examining the events themselves and community feedback on some things that need to change. Because, look, I mean, if I'm full of crap, I'm full of crap, but how many people do you know that think Radiant Typhoon should be 0 points? Right? That's just insane. I love Radiant Typhoon. I love playing it. I think the cards are fun and awesome. That deck should not be 0 points. I should not be able to play 2 Called by the Grave, 2 Droplet, a bunch of pointed Xyz monsters, Nibiru and Droll with Radiant Typhoon. I basically have to make no concessions when building that deck, and I don't think that's where we want Genesys to be. Those are my thoughts. Let me know down below what you guys think. What do you think about the decks that got top 8, about the lists, the tech choices? What do you think about what Konami had to say about the event? And are you looking forward to playing in either the European or Otherwise, with the two YCSs going on the next month, are you disappointed there's no point adjustment this month, or are you also kind of glad they're going to wait, get some more information, and not do anything rash? Let me know down below. I really appreciate you guys listening to me for 45 minutes. You have a great one. I will see you in the next one. Peace.